We are living in an age where Cantina figures are everywhere. It's easy to get them, it's easy to get repaints, you can buy them on Amazon or eBay, and heck, there's even new ones in stores to support the fact that we're finally getting a full Cantina from Hasbro, something that fans have been waiting years for, right? We went through cardboard sets and pop-out sets to now getting one. And Cantina characters are extremely popular. They show up on lots of different types of merchandise. But a lot of us who weren't around for the original don't remember that Cantina Aliens weren't available as merchandise for the first 2 years, meaning no figures, no trading cards. Heck, even the lobby cards for the original Star Wars didn't feature a single Cantina Alien, which is crazy because it's like one of the most memorable scenes of the film. Why is this when there's so many great shots of all of the different aliens, from the ones done in post-production in Los Angeles to the ones that were shot in Elstree Studios that were on set in England? Well, that's the problem. Too many masks. Well, most of the masks were done by Don after the fact. He sculpted them in L.A. based on the Ron Cobb sketches. Ron Cobb was really instrumental in designing the characters. It was Rick Baker. Did I call him Ron earlier? Rick Baker, who took Cobb's drawings and brought them to life. He is a well-known Hollywood mask maker. The thing is, though, a lot of those Star Wars masks that Rick Baker had predate Star Wars and are part of his personal collection of Hollywood memorabilia and masks. So while there were original ones created, he also pulled some from his, basically, basement where he kept all of the masks that he'd been working on for different production. And because of this, Lucas didn't know which masks he owned, which ones he didn't, so no Cantina shots were allowed in any publicity materials or any merchandise, even the band, until he locked this down, and it took about 2 years to do so. It's crazy, but to think back, you couldn't get Cantina props or merchandise. I mean, now we look at them as, quintessential part of the Star Wars Museum. So let's look at what happened and why there were no Cantina anything. And it's also why they were removed in the special edition, because this left a very bitter taste in George's mouth. Because since he couldn't use the Cantina Aliens to publicize his film for 2 years, which are arguably the first 2 most important years, well, characters like the Wolfman and the other Wolfman, or I think one was called the Hyena Man on set, both of these got replaced in the special edition because they were both older pre-Star Wars masks. In fact, one of them showed up on a Bob Burns Hollywood Halloween special. He did like a Halloween attic with aliens and monsters. Here's a shot in Bob Burns. There's the Wolfman in his full body with the mask that showed up in Star Wars. So there you go. These characters actually showed up in other entertainment. And Rick Baker was really into monsters and Frankenstein and Dracula. And, well, this mask here, which actually was supposed to be Frankenstein, hence the electric tubes there on his head. Well, he just got a hoodie put on him and slapped behind Moma Nadone, and actually the same mask then got reused and had a mustache put on it, and yet another hoodie, and was used as the Fu Manchu character. At least that's what he was called on set. I'm sure he has a real name by now. So this Frankenstein's monster mask predates Star Wars and, was used before the movie. So, again, it's out there, and George Lucas didn't own it because it was already the same, not just with the Wolfman, but the Devil. Basically anything that looks kind of like a human monster, like the Devil's a human monster from, human religion. This character in particular, the reason he looks like the Devil is he was supposed to be the Devil. He was supposed to be in John Landis's teenage vampire movie. Unfortunately, the movie never happened, but development of special effects, creature masks were done as pre-production, much like George Lucas had illustrations by McQuarrie done. And that devil mask way predated Star Wars. Rick Baker here is, showing it off. So all of these masks here, none of them were owned by George Lucas, yet they all appeared in the Cantina. One in particular I want to focus on is the one on the bottom right there, the giant rodent, right? Which you're probably like, whoa, that character is not in the Cantina. And you're kind of right. This character was completely deleted from the theatrical cut. You could see it in early cuts. If you look up like the early pre-Elstree Studio or pre-Los Angeles cut, it's also mentioned in the radio drama. It's called the Tintin Dwarf. He's there. you could see in the original Mos Eisley, but George Lucas was really disappointed with the Tintin Dwarf, his giant rodent, much like he was disappointed in Greedo. So both Greedo and the Tintin Dwarf had new masks done by Rick Baker in post-production. So they're the only two sort of Mos Eisley characters, if you will, that were also Rick Baker masks. Greedo's head is on the far left, and we'll zoom in here. You almost don't even see it because it blends in, but you can see it right above Dejah Purr, or what I call Star Trek guy. There he is. There's the giant rat, which became the Tintin Dwarf. So this mask was meant to replace the one George was not happy with, much like he was not happy with the Greedo mask. But the thing is, this mask is owned by MGM. It was from a movie that MGM did a few years earlier, I think 76, called Food of the Gods, about giant rats apparently attacking scantily clad women in trees. Sure. Okay, well, they also attacked men on the ground, apparently, in these film stills. So, yeah, the giant rat, MGM prop, and George had it in the cantina, so he had to delete every single shot until he bought it from MGM for a ridiculous amount of money, because they knew they could do that, since George had used it without their permission. Once he owned it, it showed up in this holiday special in a very prominent shot with one of the Golden Girls there. But yeah, not in the theatrical cut because he was afraid of getting sued. And because so many of these masks were spread out all over the cantina, one, he replaced a couple of them in the special edition. I won't call it out of spite, but I mean, if you spent years having to track down the rights issues for all of these masks that he now had to purchase, yeah, it left a bitter taste. Absolutely, I get it. So while there were definitely masks that were original that he owned, that were created by his employees, and plenty of them, the fact that the masks that predated Star Wars and were owned by other studios and other productions were scattered throughout the cantina, it was just like, okay, off limits, no cantina publicity stills. And that is why no one got any cantina anything until close to 1979, 1980. I hope you found this video interesting, and if you've never heard of a Tintin Dwarf before, there you go. Core Star Wars alien, mentioned in the holiday special, mentioned in the radio drama. Share this video, it's the best way to support the channel, and I thank you for that. I'll see you guys in the next video.